Southeast? Southeast? Oh my god, they're all south, boys. We need reinforcements south. Everyone 336 RP. Everyone 336. We've got team south.
Multi-revs. One of the most cherished and beloved eras of PKing in all of RuneScape. Unlike the modern multi-hotspots where you have to hop over and over, searching for activity and other players to fight, the multi-revenants were in a constant state of war and chaos. Right, melee.
Alright, ready?
Cassioki.
Go. Huge spec.
That is, until October of 2020. Jagex made the controversial decision to update the Revenant Caves and remove multi entirely, replacing it with singles plus. This angered a lot of the PKing community, as multi-revs didn't just create a multi-hotspot, but it also created active hotspots all over singles as well. Any teleport that was used to access the Deep Wild and run to the Rev Caves became an active hotspot for clans, 1v1ers, and solo PKers all over the wilderness. For example, 44's Hill with the Burning Amulet. A lot of Mysticers would fight here and have run-ins with 1 to 3 man clans, or Chinchompas, since many would be running south after tanking a fight or a war in the Rev Caves. For the last 4 years, however, it's been pretty quiet about Revenants. They received a pretty big loot buff 1 year after the removal in October of 2021. This revived activity, and the bots weren't too bad yet, but ever since then, Revs have been left to the hands of literal thousands of bots, farming every single spawn in every single world. We are desperate for an update, and we haven't really seen any news about this location in over 4 years, until last month. Buried deep within the notes of the 2023 Game Jam blog post was a brief segment that many overlooked: Sailing Islands and Dungeons. In this segment, we see the JMods preview some islands they've been working on and developing for the release of the sailing skill set to launch in 2024. Now, usually Game Jam projects are just theories or fun ideas that the JMods came up with, like Mod Soften's Wilderness expansion, but they normally don't get implemented because it just takes too much work and resources. But these posts seem significantly different than past Game Jams. In the past, we just saw rough sketches and like text boxes. There were no real in-game screenshots or models of these ideas. But look closely at these posts and pictures. They look like they're already made, and they actually have plans to fully make it to the polls and come to the game. And that's why I'm making this video. I believe that multi-revs are coming back, and probably sooner than we think. Before we get into the breakdown of this new rev location, do me a favor and make sure you're subscribed. I'm only 400 subs off of 40,000, and I'm really trying to get there before the new year. Alright, back into the blog post. Right below the Sailing Islands and Dungeons is an island that should have caught the eye of all the PKers who loved the old revs. Revenant Island by Mod Manked. If you haven't heard already, Mod Manked is a new hire for Jagex this year, and he's truly one of our biggest hopes for good content and updates in the wilderness for the PKing community. Manked is a known PKer by almost anyone who's been playing the game for a long time. If you've played Deadman mode, you know Manked PK'd with Blazers. He's even won a Deadman mode tournament, and you know he has experience PKing in clans, PKing solo, and understanding what the food chain of PvP requires in order to stay active and satisfy wilderness players at all levels of the food chain. This is taken directly from the blog post. From Islands of Mystery to the Island of Risk, ModMake's Game Jam project welcomes you to Revenant Island. Since the removal of multi-combat at the Revenant Caves, the wilderness is lacking in hotspots for multi-teams. Often, the risk versus reward doesn't quite hit the mark in our existing content, but at the same time, we don't want to go back to the dark days of players being locked out of exciting activities by powerful clans blocking off entire areas of the game. Revenant Island aims to solve these problems. Located off the eastern shore of the wilderness, above level 30, sits a not too distant bit of land only accessible via a ship. You'll also need 50,000 GP, which will be lost upon death on the island. This is a high risk, high reward area, and there's only one way in and one way out, so you can leave the teleports at home. So from this, we can assume that the island will only be accessible by paying the fee to reach the island, or I would assume with a high sailing level, allowing you to access it yourself. And from the gameplay demos we've seen, it looks like you'll be able to sail your ship around and land at wherever locations your player can walk on, so having your own ship might let you escape or land on the island at off-the-grid locations where it's less trafficked in order to sneak in and not get hit by clans. So hopefully this is one of many examples where having a high sailing level will give you an advantage in different wilderness locations. Revenant Island will promote multi-combat PvP gameplay, with areas both above and below ground for you to engage in thrilling battles against other players. Below, you'll find a dungeon similar to the old Revenant caves, with plenty of walls to encourage hugging, and we don't mean a quick cuddle. There will be multiple escape routes, so players aren't guaranteed death if they choose to engage with the content here. There will be plenty of variety to these routes, and there's a bit of strategic gameplay in picking the one that advantages you the most. Of course, there will be fitting requirements to meet before you can use them all. So with this block of text here, we can assume that you'll probably need high agility similar to the current rev caves, but the phrase fitting requirement makes me think maybe something different. Perhaps a large boulder or a landslide that maybe you need high mining and a pickaxe to break through, or maybe some ghostly revenant tentacles or vines that you need high wood cutting and an axe to chop through. I'm just spitballing here, but I think implementing shortcuts and movements where having high skill levels to escape in PvP are a good step in the right direction. Next up, we have this image, which is what really spurred me and made me want to make this video. This isn't the current Revenant caves. The walls here are different than that of the main room we have now, and the rev density looks way higher, meaning you could probably expect to get way more kills per hour. We also have this rope in the middle of the room, which is definitely new. We can assume it's an exit or maybe one of the main entrances to the cave. The idea of the multiple escape routes kind of draws from their Wilderness Boss rework that they did this year. There's like multiple escape caves and routes to escape clans, which are very useful for escaping, but they can make it kind of annoying to scout and look for activity. Hopefully this place deals with that a bit better. Alright, back into the blog post now. Obviously, the main allure of this area is the opportunity to kill fellow players and yoink their loot. But there are also a group of Revenants that call this island home. Not only can multiple players attack the Revenants at once, they'll also be in a small, consolidated area, creating less downtime when killing them. We'd also like to increase the rate at which superior speeches can spawn, creating lots of opportunities to grab more loot. So with that last line, we can expect even more Revenant Maledictus to spawn, dealing insane AoE damage and range attacks in the middle of multi-wars, and guaranteeing another 500k to 1 mil drop coming from the kill of this rev. So we can expect this to be like normal revs now, but on crack. You're going to be seeing insane GP per hour. I'm thinking in the range of like 6 to 8 mil, maybe even more, I'm not sure. And just when you think it couldn't get better, Manx smashes it out of the park with, in my opinion, exactly what the Wilderness needs. More risk versus reward. The spiciest reward of them all, though, will be the Revenant Collector. This magical item automatically collects drops from NPCs while the user is in the Wilderness, provided you have space, of course. You will, however, need 500k GP to activate it, which will be awarded to any player that kills you. This would mean that you waste 0 ticks looting items off the floor, and in a big, dense room, that's a lot of time that you need. So you could just sit in the middle of the room, blasting away with your crossbow, smoking revs one after another, and all the loot is just piling up in your inventory or looting bag. So if a clan comes, you can just run south or run to the exit. You don't have to pick up your loot. And with the Amulet of Avarice, it'll all be noted as well. I'm thinking this will most likely be the best, if not one of the best, consistent moneymakers Old School RuneScape has ever seen. It's incredibly balanced as well, since you'll be risking at minimum probably about a mil, 500k from the collector, 100k from the rev fee, and we can assume you're going to be risking at least 300 to 400k from the ether and gear you'll be carrying. And the icing on the cake, another reason I truly believe this is coming to the game next year, is the post directly below it. Project Rebalance by mods Arcane, Halo, Husky, and Kieran. This is yet another game jam project that we're already seeing in polls, and it's being implemented right now, with changes to the Scythe, Occult, Fang, and a few others being talked about. I think Revenant Island would be an insanely beneficial addition to the Wilderness. I also, however, think that the Deep Wild really still needs some love. I think it could be a really good idea to have a port also near Magebank or maybe the resource area, and then you'd have direct access to a bank at Magebank or the Edgeville Lever. This would create foot traffic and activity at Magebank, which has become pretty much a dead location. There's really no reason or reward to PK there. And you guys know me, I really miss being able to PK with my friends, but I really think it would be a good idea. We should revert the old PJ timer, as in the return of clanning, but only above the Deep Wilderness fence. So only Magebank in the resource area. Like I said, there's literally no reason to PK here currently, and if you could go up there with a little squad of 2 to 4 friends in Mystic, working together secure kills, I really think we could see some more activity and new players getting into PKing. Some ideas that would make this viable in the current meta would be maybe brew flask clamps, an attachment to an ordinary vial that would upgrade it to hold 6 doses, meaning you could hold more food and have more survivability against the current power creep, as in Ancient Godsword, Karasi, Bofa, and the gear that exists in the current game. These flasks could be untradeable once made, always lost upon death, and exchanged for something like 200 to 500k cash. So in order to use these, you need to risk more for every vial you brought, and it would add to your risk for using them, but you would be rewarded with more survivability and a bigger food pool to tank the newly lurking teams who could be afoot at Magebank. I mean, if you just look at Magebank, this area was never meant for honorable 1v1s. There's just too many obstacles to freeze and hug here and escape, and it was built with escaping clans in mind. The Gower brothers knew what they were doing here. There's the Pirate Hut, the Axe Hut, which you need a lockpick to access. That's an escape right there. There's the giant bats and hellhounds, which will hit players off of you if you're being focused. There's the resource area. You can only go in if you have coins or your Wilderness Elite Diaries. The Fire Giant Dungeon, the Iron Stairs. All of these are obstacles meant to break up the focus of a coordinated clan and be used to lower their DPS on you during a teleblock so you can buy some time and escape. With the return of clanning in just this area only, I think it would revive all of these locations and aspects. If there was only one area of the game that you could get clanned on in PK with your friends, I think you'd see a massive spike in activity there. And if you only wanted the singles PK, you could just go to the altar and Rev Caves. Nothing really changes. You don't really see solo PKers up at Mage Bank right now anyways. Let me know what you guys think. Comment down below some ideas you guys have, and let's get this project some momentum. Thanks for watching, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time.